Welcome to the new NIF 4.5. With the release of NIF 4.5, NIF has undergone a major reorganization, both on the back end and also on the front end. Right now, the front end of the main site looks a lot like the old site, but I'm going to take you now to our new beta interface, which has a lot of the increased functionality built into it. This interface has been released in beta form, and we'd like you to try it out and give us feedback as to how well you like it. As you can see, the new NIF interface looks completely different than the old interface. However, it ought to look a little familiar because we've adopted a lot of the conventions of typical displays such as you would get from Google. NIF still does the same thing. Our primary goal is to make sure that we can deliver resources, tools, materials, databases, services that are of interest to you. The primary source of information for NIF is the NIF Data Federation, 170 different databases comprising over 330 million records that we search individually using NIF's enhanced semantic search. In the old interface, the navigation through these sources was over on the sidebar, and sometimes it was a little difficult to see. Now you can see each of these sources is listed in a snippet, and you can browse these sources. They're listed in alphabetical order, or as we'll see just in a moment, you can still search across them. If you click on the result set, it will take you to the familiar tabular form, only it's a little neater and a little cleaner. We still have the ability to sort ascending and descending by clicking on the column name, but as we'll see, we offer you many more filtering and search refinement options. Also, over on the right side here, you can see the feedback box. We really do want to know what you think, whether it's positive or negative, because we're interested in trying to make this better for you. So you can get rid of the search box by the feedback box by clicking on the X, but I'm afraid that it's going to appear often because we'd like you to comment on the different features that you see. NIF still searches across our three main indices: the Data Federation, which I've mentioned, the literature, which are all PubMed abstracts plus the full text of open access literature, the NIF registry, which is our catalog of tools, materials, resources categorized by resource type and keywords, and we've left our grants tab as a special, or grants database as a special tab, because that's where researchers can find new funding opportunities. So let's look at some of the new features of NIF. I'm going to concentrate right now on the Data Federation. At the top, you can search NIF just as you always have. Notice that NIF attempts to autocomplete from the NIF ontology. Remember, this is in beta form, and right now some of the search options that are available in the current NIF are not available yet in beta, although they will be coming soon. However, if at any time you wish to return to the old NIF interface, which has all of the semantic search functionality you've come to expect, just click on the classic NIF icon here, or the new info home box up in the upper left corner. So I have searched for cerebellum, and now you'll see that the number of results has changed. In the main window, you see the sorted alphabetically, so they just go from A to Z. However, on the left, the NIF navigator functions, that is the categorization of data sources via data type or nervous system level, is still available. All of the categories are still available, although we have shortened them to make more use of the space, but if you click on Show More Filters, it will take you to all of the different data types that we have available. So if you click on one of these, for example, images, it will take you to all the databases that have images. So let's look at the Allen Institute. One thing that we have added is we have included a separate box. It opens in a separate tab that gives you the terms and conditions and licensing information about that particular resource. We are also going to use this later on to provide you more information about that resource. Remember, NIF is a data federation, so we take you to these third-party applications, and it's important to understand the terms of usage. That opens in a separate tab. Going back to the main tab, if I click on the result set, I get my tabular form. I already showed you that you could click on the column name and sort just like you used to be able to do. But also notice over here that you have additional filters. We've eliminated the navigation which required you to click on the name and select filter. Now we've pre-selected the columns that we filter on, and you can click on them and pick the most popular terms that appear. Notice cerebellum is heavily enriched here because that's what we searched for, but you get gene name, you get gene symbol, and these filters change depending upon the columns. NIF also has implemented some additional features that should make searching the NIF much more effective and help to reduce some of the false positives that tend to plague certain types of NIF searches because the same terms tend to occur in multiple different contexts. So those of you who are paying attention will notice that even though I searched for cerebellum, and I clearly got cerebellum in my first result set, if I go down below that, I see cerebral cortex, hippocampal region, hippocampal formation, hypothalamus, etc., etc., etc. And you might say, well, why is that? That's not what I asked for. I asked for cerebellum. However, if we go over here to the left, we see that the term cerebellum also occurs in this gene name, zinc finger protein of the cerebellum. If we go and look at structure names over here on the left, we can see that clearly NIF was looking for cerebellum because we have 19,000 of those and we have far fewer in cerebral cortex, hippocampus, and what have you. But if I go to those cerebral cortex genes, I guarantee you they're the zinc finger proteins of the cerebellum, and that's why it occurs. In order to get rid of one of these filters, just go over here and click on the X, and it will return you to that result set. Okay. So here we are back with cerebellum, cerebral cortex, hippocampal formation. How can I reduce that? NIF is in the process of mapping all of those 330 million records to the concepts in the ontology, which we hope will help reduce the number of false positives and make NIF much more precise in being able to answer certain types of questions. However, laying the groundwork for that, and in the meantime, what we have done is mapped certain columns names to the major modules within the ontology. So for example, NIF's modules in its ontology are organisms, anatomical structures, molecules, genes, diseases, protocols, etc. With the column name mapping, we now allow you to restrict your search only to certain columns by using a very simple query formulation. So if you come up here in the search window and you type anatomy : cerebellum, here instead of asking NIF to find any occurrence of the word cerebellum, it's going to look for the term cerebellum only in those columns that are known to contain anatomical structures. So now when I issue this query, you'll see that in this column all I get are cerebellums. It's not a perfect solution, but it goes a long way to reducing some of the false positives that we get, again, because we are searching such diverse content. Right now, we will provide a list in the help menu of those entities that you can search for. As I indicated, it can be organism, anatomy, gene, molecule, cell, disease, function, and we will be adding additional granular categories as we go. As with the old NIF interface, you can still export the search results in a tabular form so that you can load it into Excel or into any of your favorite visualization programs. We will be having some tutorials on those as well. I also want to call your attention to this button over here, which allows you to change the layout of the tables within the search interface. So here you can see that all the information is summarized per gene in a single table. For some sources, this view is particularly useful. For others, it's not, but you can toggle back and forth. I should note that this query formulation, anatomy: cerebellum, is only effective inside the data federation. It does not work on NIF literature or in the registry because the structure of those sources are very different. So don't be alarmed that you don't see any results for the cerebellum for these two tabs because, again, this formulation does not currently work with those. However, if you just type in cerebellum and hit search, you will see that results show up in both the literature and the registry.